When companies talk about talent shortages, they often focus on the workplace, hiring challenges, skill gaps, training programs, but in many cases, the story begins much earlier, long before someone submits a resume or starts their first job, because the professional workforce is largely shaped by decisions made inside universities, such as curriculum choices, degree structures, and professional training standards. Those decisions determine what future graduates know and how they think about their profession. And recently, one industry has begun pushing universities to rethink how it trains the next generation of professionals, and that's accounting. Hi everyone, Dr. Vernita Glenn-White. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, I'm not an accountant, but I have one in the family, and so I thought this was a very interesting topic. Now, if you are not an accountant, don't click off because this is still relevant to you, and I want you to understand the deeper impact of institutions and what you may be seeing in your workplace. Now, if you're new here, hi, I have been in education for over 20 plus years, and in higher education between 8 to 10 years, depending on how you look at it, as a doctoral student and as a former college professor. So I have intimate knowledge on how these things work and the impact that they have in our society. So if that is something that interests you or makes you say, I want to know more, continue to watch the video. Now let's talk about a story. For decades, accounting education focused heavily on the technical skills. Students were trained to record transactions, to prepare financial statements, ensure regulatory compliance. But the profession is now changing. Advances in artificial intelligence are automating many of those routine tasks that accountants once performed. Software can now process transactions, generate reports, and even analyze financial data faster than a human can, which means the role of accountants is beginning to shift. Instead of focusing primarily on bookkeeping, many firms now want accountants who can provide strategic advice to clients, professionals who understand business operations, those who can interpret financial insights, and one who can translate numbers into decisions. So let's talk about the incentive structure. As industries change, professional education often follows. Companies begin asking universities for graduates with different skills. Professional organizations update certification requirements, and universities gradually redesign their programs to reflect those expectations. Now, in accounting, that shift is already happening. Industry leaders are encouraging universities to train students not just as technical specialists, but also advisors, which is a huge shift, especially in this industry. They want graduates who can combine financial expertise with technology skills and communication abilities. Some programs are even introducing certification and industry training well before students graduate. The goal is to produce graduates who can contribute immediately in a rapidly evolving profession. And that is so important because a lot of times universities are behind the curve about 5 to 10, and it may be even 3 to 5 years behind what is happening in society. So the fact that they're trying to do something before they even get out is phenomenal. So what is the hidden pattern behind all of this? What's happening here illustrates something broader about universities. Higher education doesn't just educate individuals. It helps define how entire professions operate. When curriculum changes, just like we discussed in a previous video, professional expectation often changes with it. If universities emphasize advisory skills, the accounting profession may gradually evolve toward a more strategic role. If programs prioritize data analysis and AI tools, those technologies become embedded in the everyday practices. In other words, the workforce companies hired tomorrow is largely shaped by the curriculum universities design today. So what are the downstream consequences? This dynamic extends far beyond accounting. Across many industries, universities are adapting to technological change. Programs are expanding training in areas like artificial intelligence, data analysis, business strategy, communication, and leadership. The goal is to prepare graduates for a world where technological knowledge alone is no longer enough. It is still necessary, but it's not enough. Employers increasingly expect professionals who can interpret information, communicate insights, and understand the broader context of a business. That shift places universities in a powerful position because the way they redesign professional education will influence how future industries operate. Now, as we close, I want you to think about this. It's easy to think of universities simply as places where knowledge is taught or where to have a good time and learn who you are as you're becoming an adult, if you're going at the traditional age, or obtaining more knowledge if you're going later in life. But you have to understand that they also serve as another role. They quietly shape the professional pipelines that supply talent to entire industries. And we're talking about, again, engineers, doctors, lawyers, accountants, and so many other professions that I know people think that universities are becoming obsolete, but they're not in our core professions, especially as of now. Now I don't know what will happen far beyond the future, but there's a reason why universities have such staying power. So the way those professions evolve, and we may even come up with new professions, it still reflects decisions made years earlier inside of university classrooms. So when industries push universities to redesign how students are trained, the effects rarely stay on campus. They eventually reshape the workforce itself. And think about it. Social media is being trained in universities, marketing, business, artificial intelligence, a lot of things that may have started outside of universities, they're still creeping inside of universities, which are still impacting the workforce. So they won't go away for a while. And that's another example of how academic decisions ripple outward into the systems the rest of us live and work inside of. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Be sure to put your comments down below, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.